Chapter 10 of the Boy Scouts in Front of Warsaw. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Boy Scouts in Front of Warsaw, or In the Wake of War, by George Durston, Chapter 10. Beggars. When poor little Eleanor found herself dragged forcibly from her brother, and away from the comparative safety of the underground room where Warren and Ivan had so mysteriously appeared, as she thought, to get her and take her home, her childish heart was filled with a terror so overwhelming that she did not know what she did. Notwithstanding the efforts of the woman who held her, she screamed as hard as she could, and stiffened in the woman's brutal grasp until she was obliged to put her down. Eleanor tried to run, but she was too tightly held. Then, with a muttered rush of comments, the woman rained blows on the poor little shoulders and body until the child sank to the ground, nearly stunned from the force of the blows. Her cries died, and she lay gasping. "Now, will you be silent?" demanded the Fury, shaking her. "You just try that again. Just try it, and see what I will do to you." She overwhelmed the fallen child with terrible threats until Eleanor was silenced, and shook as though in a chill. "Now you had better do as I tell you," the woman said. "You will never see your brother again. Never, never. And you will have to live with me and do as I say." She jerked the child to her feet and dragged her down the street after the two men who had gone on, one of them carrying Rika. She was still muttering when she reached them. "This one has got to be trained," she said savagely, "and I might as well begin it right off." Michael shrugged his shoulders. "Why don't you show a little mercy at the first?" he inquired carelessly. "It doesn't matter to me, but I tell you, Martha, you will spoil her for everything if you handle her too roughly. She will die. I've seen her sort before." "Then let her die," said the woman. "Good riddance it will be if she does not take kindly to my tasks." "Suit yourself," said Michael, "but take my advice and give her a little time." "Time?" said Martha. "Time? What are you thinking of? There is no time. She has lost 2 years as it is. You don't seem to remember, Michael, that I am as good a pickpocket as there is in Europe. That child is almost too old to begin to learn the art. The other one, Rika, is just about right. She has such fine, delicate little fingers. Oh, well, this one has good hands too. But you know well that they are clumsy after they reach 5. Do you remember the yellow-haired child I trained about 10 years ago? Ali, she was a wonder, but you could never keep her down. How I used to beat her! There would be black welts from her shoulders to her knees. But no, you could not keep her down. She was so ambitious. If she had only kept out of politics, she might have been stealing yet. But now she's in Siberia, in the mines. Ha! A home life for me, I say. What care I who is in power, so long as pretty ladies carry shopping bags and wear sparkling bracelets and flashing brooches? I say a woman wants to keep her own place. Isn't it so, my Michael?" "Yes, indeed," said Michael heartily. "I read the other day—" "Read?" said Martha scornfully. "That's another mistake. Why should a man like you read? Sooner or later it will get you in trouble. You never know what the reading may contain. Better not know. What you don't know won't hurt you." "You are wrong," said Michael stubbornly. "Sometimes what you don't know does hurt you. If I could live again, I would be a better man. When I was a boy, there was no learning to be had, except for the upper class and the priests. Now, when I am old, and it is too late, you can learn everything. I've loitered around the schools and listened to the boys talking their lessons over. It's amazing what they know. They know everything. and there are schools where they are set to work in all sorts of trades. I took a job cleaning floors once, so I might go in and see what it was they did. Martha, those boys, they were quite little ones too, made such beautiful things, furniture and that. There was one little chair that you could set on your hand. It was as perfect as though it has been big enough for you. I thought that I should steal it, but then I thought how sad the little fellow who made it would feel. The janitor told me there were prizes for the best workman, and I knew that chair was best, so I didn't take it. I never wanted anything more in my life. Silly, said Martha, always bothering your old head about someone's feelings. I do wish you would stop it. As for these children, I tell you, Michael, it is a matter of business. We are no longer young. We must prepare for the time when we can no longer stand on corners and in church doors and beg. My fingers even now are growing clumsy. Who will care for us then if we do not train these children? I suppose so, said Michael wistfully. But it does seem a pity. You should have seen that chair. I've heard about it enough at any rate, said Martha. You should have taken it. You could have sold it for a few kopecks. I couldn't, said Michael. All right, said Martha. This is another matter. These children. You heard what I said. Now here is what I plan. We will go to Łódź, and there we will stay for the next year or two. This war cannot last forever. And when it is well past, why, then we will strike out in the world. I know little girls. These will both be beauties when they're a few years older. She laughed as she dragged Eleanor along. I tell you, I did well when I picked up these pearls. No doubt, Michael answered. He could not but look with pity on the two children, however. He was a man whose whole life had been evil, but somewhere in him there was a spark of kindness and tenderness. He fought, he drank, he stole, he lied, but the sight of the two poor little girls dragging miserably along with the remorseless woman somehow touched his heart. He knew that he would often beat them, and he would also give them their first lessons in picking pockets. But he knew, too, there would be times when he would shield them from the cold, relentless fury of the woman. So it was with a feeling of pity for the weary little feet that he asked, Where do we go tonight? I am tired. Tired? Scorned Martha. You are ever tired. However, we will eat some supper and then go on to Łódź. Walk? Asked the other man, who had not spoken before. No, said Martha. I have a pocket full of money. Oh, no, you don't, she added as the man came close to her. Here's a handy knife if you try that. Something tells me to get out of here as soon as we can, and it will take too long to walk with these burdens. Besides, they would never stand it. You may be sure I would not spend this money on the railroad if I could help myself. She turned into a doorway. The house was deserted. Here, she said, I will stay here with these two while you get something for me to drink. Also, go to the railroad and see if the trains are running. And hurry! She found a chair for herself, pushed the two children into the corner furthest from the door, and settled herself to wait, while the two men walked leisurely out of the house and away. An hour later, Michael hurried back. Martha greeted him sourly. Don't pretend to hurry, lazy one, she scolded. I know where thou hast been. Did you bring what I asked? I bring news, said Michael, glancing at the two children. Ah, that is dry drinking, said Martha, making a face. Well, have it over. There is a search on for the little one, said Michael. I know who she is. If they find her with us... He drew his hand across his neck with the whistling sound of a knife. Who is she, then? Asked Martha, in astonishment. Michael stooped and whispered in her ear. Aye, aye, exclaimed Martha. No wonder her hands are delicate and small. Well, we've got to go on with it now, and quickly too. How will we get out of here? Shall we trust the cars? Do they run? Answer, Michael. What did you find out? A lot of things, said Michael. First place, the station is watched, so I bought 2 tickets for Łódź. We men will go down there tomorrow. And leave me here? Asked Martha furiously. No, 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 said Michael. Will you wait until I finish? When I came from the railroad, I passed a great empty motor truck. Some soldiers are getting it ready to go to Łódź tonight. They are going for more munitions. It belongs to the enemy, but thanks to my German mother, I am German at will. So I spoke to them. I told them about my wife and 2 little children who were going to walk to Łódź. It was great luck. They said you could go with them. Think of that, said Martha. Not to walk a step and to ride down that beautiful road in a truck. What a wonder! I never expected to get into one of those great horseless things. Well, what did you say then, stupid? You are to go down now, and they will start soon. But they do not want the officers to know that they are taking you. It's only because of my German and my nice way, he laughed. Well, get up, and we will go over. I'm almost afraid, said Martha. There is no way as good as this, the man assured her. You will be safe. You will rest quite well under the canvases in the truck, and the road is indeed smooth. He lifted Riker and led the way. It was growing late, and they hurried to the place near headquarters where the great track stood. Michael did not wait for anyone to come. He jumped in and made a sort of nest in the canvas covers that were lying in the bottom. In this he seated Martha and the children, warning the woman to hold fast to the girls. He then covered them cleverly with the lightest of the covers, saw that no one would guess that the truck was occupied, and proceeded to sit on the nearby curb and smoke. He was afraid that someone would throw something heavy in the truck and bring a scream from one of the children. Presently the 2 soldiers who were to drive came out. They had had a good meal and were smoking contentedly. Michael went up to them. He opened his hand and showed 3 coins. Here is all my wealth. I will share it with you for your kindness to my wife and my dear little ones, he said in a trembling voice. The men shook their heads, but he insisted, and they took the offered coins, protesting that they would take their passengers safely to Łódź. Ah, what goodness, said Michael with deep feeling. If I could ever repay you. That's all right, said one of the soldiers. Just be silent about the load we are carrying. Tell no one. Our captain is in the deuce of a temper, and he would punish anything today. He drew on his gloves and mounted to his seat. The other soldier swung up beside him. It's a pity we can't take you too, he said. But it wouldn't be safe. Goodbye. Goodbye, said Michael in a trembling voice. Goodbye, wife. Goodbye, my sweet children. Martha pinched Eleanor roughly. Say goodbye, she hissed, and a frightened little voice called, something that was almost lost in the sound of the engine as the car started. Martha stifled a shriek. This was a terrifying experience. As the car rolled onwards, the 2 children, both accustomed to riding in motor cars and too tired to mind the unyielding springs and the hard tyres of the truck, were lulled to sleep. But Martha sat wide-eyed, not daring make the least outcry, and afraid to follow her heart's wish and jump to the ground. The night was filled with terrors, and when at dawn the car stopped, and a soldier brought her a can of coffee, she was too stiff and frightened to speak. When at last they reached Łódź, the 2 men were obliged to lift her to the ground. They set them down on the outskirts of the city, and Martha hurried as well as she could with her tired muscles, and the children dragging at her side, to the hovel where her sister lived. There was a long talk then, and many explanations, and Martha rested and slept as though she would never rise again. When she did finally get up, she had lost all count of time, but Michael was there, and the children were trying to get a handkerchief from the pocket of a coat suspended from the ceiling by a cord. Get it so carefully that you will not stir the coat, and you will have a piece of candy." The children tried again and again. Martha groaned and disturbed them. "Well, at last I am rested," she said. "Michael, thou fool, when next you get me such a place." She groaned again. "Better that than not at all, eh, Martha?" laughed the man. "We might have walked it," she declared. "Yes, in how many days?" he demanded, "with those children at heel?" "Of course," she said, "but it was frightful." She shook her head. "We rocked and tossed like a ship at sea, and those children slept all the way. I could have beaten them." She turned to her sister. "You say you have no money. We will have to go and get some then." She turned to the children and studied them critically. "Those clothes won't do," she said. "Where is there a place where I can get them something else to wear?" "2 houses down," said her sister. "I will go with you." The women were not gone long, and came back with a bundle of children's clothing. Michael was still patiently teaching them the handkerchief trick. Rika's little face was puckered, and she was ready to cry, although Michael had given her several pieces of candy. It did not take long to take off the clothes that the children had been wearing, and dress them instead more in accordance with the parts that they were to play. Then Martha took a stick and stood before Eleanor. "Look at me," she commanded, when the child's frightened eyes sought her face. She said, "You are to beg for your supper, do you hear? As soon as you see a kind-looking lady or gentleman, you are to put out your hand and say, 'Please, we are starving,' like that. Say it." Eleanor was silent. "Say it," she repeated. But Eleanor was still. "Do you want to be beaten?" Martha asked in a terrible voice. "Do you?" Eleanor found her voice. "No," she said in Polish. "No, please do not beat me. But I cannot beg. My brother will come soon and get me. I do not want any supper. I will wait for him." Martha sat down, the stick still in her hand, and thrust her ugly face close to the child. "Hear me," she growled. "Your brother will never come for you. He is dead. Dead, I tell you. You will never see him again. You are going to live here with me, and you are going to do just what I tell you, or I shall beat you so you will never forget it. Now do you understand?" Eleanor looked her steadily in the eyes. "Yes," she said. "Then say what I told you," said Martha, getting to her feet. Eleanor looked at her. Then, reading the threat in her eyes, she said, "Please, we are starving." It seemed more than her independent spirit could bear, even with the fear of a stick on her heart. She added, "Some day I shall run away." "That settles it," cried Martha. "We will settle this now." She threw the helpless child on the ground and began beating her with a stick. For a long while Eleanor endured it. Then, unable to keep silent under the pain, she burst into screams and sobs. The woman continued her blows until Eleanor's voice held a thin note of agony, and she lifted her and flung the quivering little body on a pile of rags and sat herself down by the table. "That ought to break her spirit," she said. She waited until the sobs and cries subsided, then called the child. The terrified little girl slipped from the bed and ran to her tormentor. Martha looked at her critically. "That did you good," she said. "Now we will get out of here and go to work." "Have you any money at all?" asked her sister, turning to Michael. "A little," he grudgingly admitted. "Well, let us have enough to go to market while it is open. I go late each morning to buy the spoiled vegetables that are left over." "Ah, good plan," said Martha. When they had finished with the market, the women walked slowly down through the city, begging wherever they could. They were able to recognize foreigners wherever they met them, although they were not many. Always, however, they gave generously. The store of coins in Martha's sack grew and grew. "We will have to exchange this stuff for a few larger coins somewhere," she said. "I think we can do so safely at the railroad station. Let us go there." The day had been a time of torture for the two children. Eleanor was so tired that she thought she would fall at each step, but the relentless hand held her up and pulled her on. Rika, in the other woman's arms, had fallen asleep several times. They did not mind that. Her tear-stained little face with its long curling lashes looked very pitiful, and as long as she slept, they told a sad story about her being lame. But Eleanor had to walk, and she was sure that when she fell from exhaustion, Martha would probably kill her. There was a great crowd at the station and dozens of other beggars, but Martha noted with satisfaction that none had such beautiful children to beg for. There were many more coins in the sack before long, and just as Eleanor's knees bent under her, and she thought that now at last she would fall, the women set the children on a big box, and with the most horrible threats that if they stirred or spoke to anyone, walked off to the ticket office to change the small coins into something safer to handle. End of chapter 10.